Hello, and thank you all for joining us today. And welcome to our webinar, Diversity Strategies on LinkedIn. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items for you. Everyone on the line is muted, so if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We will have some time for Q&A at the end of this webinar, so please send through your questions and I will ask our presenters at the end of the session. And most importantly, we will be sharing the slides as well as the recordings from today's webinar with all of you. So keep an eye out for an email in the coming days with the link to the download of the webinar. And I'm happy to introduce you to today's presenters, Elle Green, Global Solutions Consultant here at LinkedIn, and Wendy Hertman, Senior Customer Success Manager. Hi both, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Can you please introduce yourself to our audience and then get us started?
Love to, thanks Dan. I'm just going to call it guys. I actually do have tonsillitis today and I'm here just to record and this live webinar for you guys. And that's how much I love you. So I'm really pretty happy to see so many familiar names or which we know are associated faces at the end of this, the end of the line. So it's great to see you all today. Thank you. I will try not to shout or mumble at you too much with my husky voice. So I've been with LinkedIn for just over 4 years now, partnering with our customers to really build robust content and media strategies, project strategies across our platform. I've worked in the industry of talent brand, engagement and culture for almost 12 years in Australia now. Diversity and culture has been a passion of mine, so I'm really, really excited to be here with you, Wendy, and you guys, and to help really explore how content strategies can help meet your objectives on our platform. So over to my partner in crime, who has a far better voice than I do right now.
And thanks, Ellen, and thanks very much for being here today. I know certainly myself and the people listening today really appreciate that you're here with us.
Thanks, Wendy.
My name is Wendy Herdman. I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager. My role is to ensure that our customers achieve their business success with their overall LinkedIn solution investment. I've been at LinkedIn now for 3 years. Actually, yesterday was my 3-year anniversary. And a number of my clients have pain points around finding diverse candidates. So I'm equally delighted to be here with you, Elle, to share best practice insights on this particular subject. And now over to you to kick us off.
Thanks, Wendy. So I love this quote from Indra: diversity of people in a corporation promotes innovation because it achieves a greater diversity of ideas. It's not all about our quotes. When companies undertake efforts to make their management teams more diverse by adding women and people from other countries, industries and companies, the question is, does it actually pay off? Well, when we look at the critical area of innovation, the answer really seems to be yes. We looked at a study conducted by BCG in the Technical University of Munich, which showed that innovation performance increased significantly when the workforce included a non-trivial percentage of women, i.e. more than 20%, in management positions. In today's age of business transformation, successful organizations are starting to look, or have started to look, for the more relational values that females bring to an organization, rather than the more transactional values that we have seen traditionally, or the male values. As businesses seek to be more sustainable in a changing marketplace of products, services and skills, we know that artificial intelligence is a hot topic of today, for example, so the values and workforce composition has to change to match this changing marketplace. Today we acknowledge that it's not just about gender diversity, it's about diversity in general, whether that's LGBT, whether that's ethnicity, whether that's disability. However, gender is one of the most focused topics in APAC, and the area we can actually help you the most significantly on the LinkedIn platform.
Probably wondering what we're going to cover off today. So Ella's going to dive into how to use content to attract and engage a diverse audience. And we'll share some data insights with a particular focus on gender. I'm going to share some practical tips and takeaways for recruiters on how to source for diversity candidates using LinkedIn and LinkedIn Recruiter. And throughout the session, we'll share customer stories and examples of how organizations approach diversity attraction and engagement differently. This is done through telling stories to their employees, showcasing their diversity initiatives, or elevating the discussion through senior leaders. And I think for us at LinkedIn, how we approach diversity and inclusion as an organization is pretty special. We all know diversity is what makes us unique. At LinkedIn, when people become part of our team, we do everything in our power to ensure that they are included and have a seat at the table. And as an organization, we want nothing more than to ensure that every member of our team feels like they belong here. Pat Waters, our Chief HR Officer, has coined this DIBS, so diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And we were lucky enough to have her and our new head of DIBS, Rosanna Dorothy, visiting our office last week. So she explained that the dictionary definition of DIBS is the most powerful force in the universe. I really like that. It resonates with me. It sums up how passionate she is and the rest of our organization feel about this subject. I'm going to provide more sound bites from their visit with us and also share some insight into how our very own TA team recruit with diversity in mind. So I'm sure you've all seen something like this before. It's a standard marketing funnel. We reference this marketing funnel a lot here at LinkedIn. It's a great visualization for understanding this journey. So you can see the top of the funnel is build awareness. And this is the idea, like a funnel. You can cast a broad net to start capturing interest. You then start nurturing prospective candidates through more tailored attraction messaging, showcasing what your company has to offer. Moving to that pointy end, recruit, which is where that direct sourcing comes in, resulting in hires made.
So bearing the funnel in mind, we really need to ask yourself the question, as an organisation, why are you embarking on a diversity recruitment programme? As there will be different sourcing strategies according to your desired outcome. So do you have KPIs set in place, such as a 50-50 male-female interview ratio, or you want to increase female workforce by 40% by 2020, obviously depending on what's realistic for your organisation now, or you're looking to hire 20% more female engineers, which are just some of the KPIs we see set in place now. If this is the case, you basically want bums on seats, or an attraction strategy that takes you right through the funnel, through the awareness and attraction stage, right through to hired. And that means lead generation, whether that's a dedicated landing page that members come to after consuming your content on LinkedIn, or sourcing from followers that you've acquired or converted through your content campaign in specific member marketplaces. And luckily Wendy will show you how to do this with your recruiter tool later.
I will indeed.
Right, thank you. Or do you know that diversity is something that's on your agenda and it's top of mind, but right now it's just something you sort of need to look at and just need to raise a bit of brand awareness because you're not yet ready to go forth with some strong initiatives? In that case, you want to really focus at the very top of the funnel, just at the awareness stage, by putting your organisation in front of as many people as possible to build their front of mind awareness of you as a hiring organisation. You can do this through broad, curated diversity insights that you may have curated from other organisations, from diversity and focus groups, or just diversity content that you feel is of interest, so that you are ready to then communicate to them again when you are ready to take them through the hiring process with specific initiatives directly associated with your organisation. Ultimately, you need different strategies to drive different needs. Either way, Ensure that you have initiatives and programs in place to support any attraction strategy to support brand perception and retention in the long run. So let's look at what a strong and robust content strategy can do to help you reach your goals. So one of the great things about LinkedIn, and in fact the reason I joined 4 years ago and it's still here is it's ever evolving, is really the power of our data targeting. The data we have here is immense. And the great thing about using content on LinkedIn is that using that data you can make 2 calls. You can use your organic updates to send out content to your current followers that is broadly diversity focused, as Wendy talked about earlier, such as remote working or flexible working, that embraces both your male and female audience, or perhaps around female leadership within your organisation, for example. Or you can choose to send specific content out to your ideal female-only candidate base, such as highlighting female employee experiences within your business, which we'll look at later, and specific initiatives you may be running to attract and promote a diverse workforce through strategic programs. And as you can see this example of our data targeting, there's a number of facets you can use, one of them being gender specific. So as an example, I like to use Atlassian. The head of Atlassian's Diversity and Inclusion recently posted that they've boosted their female tech hires by 80%, an astounding number, from 10% to 18% through their various initiatives. On the LinkedIn platform, they used videos, sponsored content, and recruitment ads to run campaigns to their female audiences only.
And the head of D&I speaks openly about getting the basics squared away, looking at biases within the organization, tracking milestones and measurements to drive momentum. She comments on the power of feedback and sharing what others are doing well in the space to create change. So LinkedIn, we ran a survey last year. We were polling what sort of information is important to a prospective candidate when they look for a new job. And we've been able to break this down by gender. So you can use this kind of data to form your communication strategies, from building awareness, engagement, and recruiting, using this information to fuel your own messaging and the type of information you want to emphasize. So appreciate this is a busy slide, so a few call-outs. For females, flexibility and a good work-life balance is more important for females than it is to males. So if you're trying to attract a female to your organization, is this something that is clearly articulated as part of your company initiatives? You can also see that relationships with superiors or colleagues are more important to females than males. A number of clients are telling stories through their leaders and employees to convey their messages about what it's like to work in their organization and to showcase who you, as a prospective candidate, would want to work with. Remember, it's not to say that internal relationships, flexibility, or a good work-life balance isn't important to males, but you may want to dial up your messaging according to what's important to each gender audience. One of our clients, Accenture, ran a session here at LinkedIn, and after they reviewed their own candidate journey, found that headhunting and job posts were a more effective sourcing channel to hire males, where referrals and word of mouth was more effective for them in securing females. So they were able to adapt some of their practices off this insight. They also ran some internal surveys. They surveyed candidates who got the job and those who didn't, and found that flexibility was equally as important to men as women. They also found that there were some biases within their organization when it came to opportunities for travel. It was presumed that most women with families wouldn't want to roll with travel obligations, but in fact, after their survey results, they found that women loved the opportunity to travel. And I can certainly speak for myself and my own circumstances. Even though I have a family, I love the opportunity to travel.
I think, Wendy, that's a great example of unconscious bias that exists in our world now. Again, I have a young family. I love getting away for a night or a few days, a hotel room, dinner out without the young one. It's fantastic, and we may joke, but you definitely have to take those considerations into mind now when you're communicating your messaging to your audience. But always remember, though, that whatever you do talk about, promise, or focus on, you need to be able to commit to, as content needs to reflect reality. So be wary of being too aspirational, because you can bring the audience in, you can hire them, but what you don't want to do is have a negative impact on retention.
Good point.
Okay, so you're committed to this journey. Fantastic. Let's take a look at some great examples out there of diversity content that you can actually take inspiration from, because we love to share at LinkedIn. So we found that thought leadership on the LinkedIn platform outperforms most other content. And in the world of social, thought leadership doesn't just mean industry insights, white papers, corporate comms, or something that just comes from your C-suite. It means thought leadership on a specific topic that someone has experience and knowledge in, that they share, and that the member reader will find of value to them personally. For example, as I've got here, we've got a great piece of content from our very own Rosanna Jyoti, who Wendy referred to earlier, our new head of Divs, about why she's so excited to join LinkedIn team as our new head of Divs. An example here of Manpower Singapore releasing their own research on women in leadership and some of the stats that they see. The Brillo head of HR in India shares insights on how to bring diversity to leadership roles. So thought leadership can come from either your organisation directly or from key individuals within your company. Take the opportunity to be creative and reinvent thought leadership within your business. Showcase your personality. What does it look like for you? Are you looking to hire a specific job family, job function, and so on to target a specific audience? Well, I was fortunate enough to be involved with a fantastic organisation committed to just this. WSP Asia were committed to hiring more females into the business across the globe. They committed and introduced a number of initiatives and programs to encourage female engineers from over the globe and specific geos to come and join WSP Asia and WSP ANZ. They created a talent brand specifically for this audience with a hashtag Engineered Her Way and told a number of stories from their employees' perspective via video and long-form post, which they then shared and sponsored to reach their targeted audience group. If this is something you're interested in doing, I highly recommend visiting their page for some inspiration. If it's something you're looking at and focusing on as a key initiative, I think these guys can really give you a head start. You okay there, is it? Awesome. The other thing you can do is just focus on initiatives, whether they're global, local, or hiring-specific initiatives. Some examples here that I'm sharing with you are Westpac and WSP, again promoting their activities around recent NAIDOC Week here in Australia. An example of Centre Group, who used a diversity and inclusion video as sponsored content, which now also sits on their life page. Accenture in the Philippines ran a campaign specifically around supporting women in finance and accounting through running sponsored updates to female-only audience in their key areas.
And interesting, a number of organizations are hiring individuals that sit within their HR or TA teams to solely manage their Indigenous recruiting programs as well.
So talking of life pages, we focus a lot on your content strategy. What's incredibly valuable, I don't want you to overlook your life page strategy.
So remember, before a candidate sets foot in your company, they will do their homework. They will look at your website, they'll check you and your hiring managers out on LinkedIn. So it's important to ensure that diversity is reflected throughout your employer brand. So whether visually in your company photos, through your diverse leadership team, through the descriptions of your culture, and also be specific about diversity and inclusion initiatives as well. And certainly don't underestimate the power of employee testimonials. It's a hugely credible source when it comes to diversity.
Yeah, that's great, Wendy. I'd like to use Telstra as an example. Although they're an iconic Australian brand, they still need to employ new strategies to attract the right workforce and future-proof their organisation. So much so that they have a whole life page view dedicated to how they are creating a diverse and inclusive workforce. We also at LinkedIn also talk about fostering, embracing a diverse and inclusive workforce throughout all of our life pages, as well as having a specific culture page. For you, it all really depends on how much of focus it actually is for your organisation. As I said before, how many initiatives and programs you have in place. And going back to my original question about what your goals are for a business.
And if you have a LinkedIn page with multiple audience views, you can actually highlight international diversity by setting up location-specific pages as well. And we sort of touched on this powerful way of telling your diversity stories in that authentic way is through your employees. So a couple of examples here. We've got GovTech Singapore, who recruit largely data and tech talent, which, as many of you listening know, it can be an extremely competitive space. And they've done a nice job showcasing one of their female senior leaders, sort of creating some video content. Defence Force Recruiting have done some great work in the D&I space. And this was just an example of a call out for new recruits, and it's visually appealing to see this type of imagery. Horizon have taken a very transparent approach with the public by sharing their detailed diversity policies online and their diversity goals. So Horizon have made a commitment in 2014 to have a 30% of the Horizon workforce made up of women by the end of 2019. You can see their initiatives and policies all referenced on their career page. And traditionally, as a very male-dominated industry, they're celebrating female employees through storytelling. And if you're looking for an example of an organization who has empowered their employees to tell stories and the reasons why they love coming to work each day, Cisco is a great one. So they've created a page on LinkedIn dedicated for women in tech, and they've included employee testimonials. And here's one from Deidre, who is just wax lyrical about working at Cisco. And don't forget as well to share your achievements and awards when it comes to diversity. And certainly join the debate. Talk about the challenges that maybe women or others face. We have certainly on LinkedIn a great platform to be able to write a long-form blog post to generate that interest as well.
And I actually think for those of you who do follow me, and this is not a plug to follow me, they have read my recent posts about the challenges of coming back to work as a new mother, etc. Being part of an organisation that allows me and empowers me to tell that story.
Very impactful, isn't it?
Yeah. Great conversation starter. So we've gone through the journey top of funnel, through the attraction stage of consuming content and engaging with your brand. And we're now heading towards the bottom of the funnel, or as I like to call it, towards the pointy end, where you're ready to make your hires.
So can help with your diversity sourcing requirements. So this is an opportunity to get creative with your searching and also use some of our great efficiency tools. So remember, you can use your refinement filters. And a popular one is searching by college or university. So if you have that gender KPI to hit, try searching for women-specific colleges or university. And you can see that screen grab listed there. If you don't know where to start, jump online and make a list. Start doing your research. And to avoid having to plug in the same list each time you search, you have the ability to create a custom filter. You can see the screen grab there, the top two red boxes there. So this allows you to save your list for your next diversity search, and it's a huge time saver. And when you're searching, don't forget to leverage your spotlights. So certainly some great recommendations are Talent Brand. So this allows you to see members who are following your company or who have engaged with a piece of content or applied to one of your jobs. Also, open candidates. I hope everyone is using the spotlight. These are prospective candidates who have selected that they are more interested in hearing from recruiters about opportunities. And certainly don't forget searching your own company followers. So these spotlights enable you to see what we call warm leads. Excuse me. So if you use these along with your diversity search criteria, it can be a very powerful sourcing technique. I'd highly recommend, if you're happy with your search and you would like to continue to build your pipeline, save your search and set up a search alert. This is probably one of the most underutilized functionalities in Recruiter, and I can't recommend this feature enough. What this means is, based on your search criteria, anyone new that updates their profile to match your search criteria, you'll be notified. So you'll have the search saved for any future diversity hiring needs, or if you have to go back to the drawing board with your job search or recruit a like-for-like role, you'll have a pool of prospective candidates there for you. And a great story of a large Australian university who was struggling to find female senior academics. They'd advertised through more traditional channels and really had no luck. And they sourced through Recruiter, just using some of the techniques I've just mentioned there, and were able to successfully fill the position. So certainly a great success story. To add to your refinement filters and spotlights, you can also go back to boolean searching. So I tend to reference Glenn Cathey when it comes to diversity sourcing and searching. He calls himself a black belt boolean ninja, so you should definitely check him out. But here's a couple of great tips. So if you tried searching for her or she, it works because her and she can be mentioned in the summary and recommendation sections of women's profiles. Same with maternity leave or parental leave. There's a website that can offer you a list of the most popular female names that you can plug into a Boolean search string. And you can even find a Boolean builder too. You can create a list of women-only high schools, which is certainly helpful in the Australian market where we don't have as many women-only universities. Or you could try sororities, which may prove more successful for North American sourcing. But what about women-only sports teams? This could open up a diverse pool of candidates for you on LinkedIn. And remember, you can save those lists as custom filters and repeat for next time. So get online and start searching and making those lists. A client of mine who was keen to hire a trade professional, and for gender balance reasons within the team, he was really super keen to include females as part of that short list. He was struggling to find relevant candidates, so he literally typed in handy woman as a Boolean search. There were 6 prospective candidates listed in his area. He reached out to them all, and last I heard, he had hired one of them and was close to offering the second. So a great, simple success story.
I could do the handy woman.
So it's up to you to adapt what you see here to your specific needs. But it's about thinking a little differently and creatively when it comes to diversity sourcing. The most popular method when it comes to things is exploring diversity groups on LinkedIn. So you can find groups with the keyword search on LinkedIn.com, and again, you can start making your list. You can ask to join different groups, but you don't need to join a group to have access to its members. You can search in Recruiter via the All Groups filter, so you can either type in the name of your group or start searching explicitly for the words, like my example here, Indigenous. You can do the same with any words, women, women's, females, to help you get started. Or you can create your own group like CBA did. They created a group called Women in Focus, and this helps them cultivate a diverse pool of members. And last I looked, they had over 6,000 members, with members posting regularly to that group. With Pat and Rosanna's visit to our office last week, they spoke about the concept of cultural add. So are your prospective candidates, are those that you're moving through a short list, adding differences to the team? What could they add to the team? I really like that rather than saying cultural fit, which in some ways doesn't apply anymore. And certainly a common sourcing technique that we're seeing outside of potentially using LinkedIn is recruiting events. Women in IT, STEM events, sales development. That's a common approach as an alternative attraction strategy, and a softer touch to assist with your pipelining as well.
And that's a good call. And don't forget, if you don't have content that you want to post out or you don't want members to consume, you can actually use recruitment ads here, or display ads we call them. So you can use these ads to go out to the groups to follow a member, and they will follow this member when they log in, when they go to their journey on LinkedIn, and when they go to these groups. So your display ad or recruitment ads can actually be seen in these specific groups, which would be incredibly valuable for you to complement your search tool efforts.
and also have some great pipelining features within Recruiter as well. So you can use tags. So this helps you track your profile activities. And what I refer to as a quick retrieval way of retrieving candidates and recruiters. So as an admin on your dashboard, you can set up a tag, which means you can run a search and you can self-tag individuals. So this isn't something that's going to be visible to a member. These tags and all that profile activity live on your Recruiter dashboard. You can create an Indigenous tag or other diversity tags as required. We appreciate that you always want to find the best person for the job. But using these tags can be helpful if you need to report back the health of your pipeline as part of a KPI or share this information back with your hiring managers. And certainly don't forget to use your projects. Again, you can filter candidates in your projects via your tags. So again, it can be helpful if you need to report back on how individuals are moving through the interview process. And it can also help you identify specific bottlenecks as well. And depending on the level of insight that you would like to share with your hiring managers, you also have this search insights functionality within Recruiter to leverage. So this is your market mapping tool. So this can help you and your hiring managers better understand the talent pool. You can run your diversity searches and understand where individuals qualified and studied, education tab, top employers, level of experience, and top locations. And certainly one of the areas our own TA team are looking at is loosening the restrictions to the brief. So speaking to your hiring managers, asking, do you really need those 5 years of SaaS experience? Can you open up the talent pool by looking at a different kind of sales experience, like account management or SMB online ads or marketing rather than just SaaS? And if you are interested in a more deeper level of insight, we do offer some customized paid reports. So absolutely worth speaking to your hiring manager if that is something of interest. And lastly, one last tip. Review how you're writing your job descriptions. Language itself can be surprisingly gender or diversity biased. So the wording in job ads can turn many women away from applying. So words like superior, decisive, outspoken, and champion are all stereotypically masculine and would appeal more to a male candidate, while female gendered words include connect, honest, responsible, understand, and commit. So referencing Atlassian again, they have rewritten their job ads to address that gender gap using a software called Texico. And they now exclude potentially biased words and phrases. There's also a free app there that I've referenced as well, which was developed by Kat Mansfield, which is incredibly easy. You just paste your job description in the app, and it points out what is specifically gendered. So again, this is a great opportunity to link this back to your comm strategy. From your Inmails to your job posts, link that back to that research and data insights. And you can also make a statement about equal opportunity within your organization. And you can see an example here from ANZ. And this is reflected on their career page, their job ads, and filters to how they recruit. They started a campaign called #EqualFuture, which addresses the gender wealth gap. And I've added this here just for you to reference. They have videos and a microsite to support the campaign as well. And certainly if it's outreach, you may also try enlisting a hiring manager to help, as this can be a hook for diversity hiring as well.
Well, this brings us to the end of our webinar today.
We can talk for ages on the subject.
Take yourself right now. I'm not sure I have ages. I think I'm on the home run. So thank you so much for your time. We've just got a few key takeaways to surmise this webinar. So firstly, remember, have an outcome in mind. Is it actual KPIs you need to meet, or those bums on seats? In which case, have a pointy end attraction strategy all the way through to hire, or is it just a bit of brand awareness where you can create content, plagiarize and steal on the platform? That's what it's about. It's the one place you're allowed to do it. And just promote your organisation to the right audience. But do focus on that top of funnel before you go all the way through to the bottom funnel, whatever you do. Because it makes the recruiter's life so much easier if you already have a warm audience, you already have a gauged audience. You understand that diversity is on your radar. leverage your current employees. You have a plethora of employees, pool of talent who would be willing and happy to share their stories about diversity, whether that's gender, whether that's disability, whether that's Indigenous, etc. But make sure you do targeted communication. So going back to the list of messages that Wendy went through, who is your audience and what do they want to hear?
Absolutely. I think those are really some very valuable takeaways. I think certainly get creative with your searches. You do need to adapt to your diversity needs and make some lists to help you get started. I think I repeated that a few times during this session. It takes time, but it will pay off. And use those efficiency tools within Recruiter. And if you get stuck, jump into the LinkedIn Learning Center for some tip sheets and tutorials. There's information there to help. And lastly, reevaluate your communication strategy. Are you appealing to a diverse candidate? Are you hitting the right buttons to start a conversation and then ultimately hire them? So thank you so much. Hopefully we've been able to provide you with some further insight on how to attract and source for your diversity goals. So I think we're going to open it up to some questions now.
Great. Thanks so much, Wendy and Elle. We have a few minutes left to take some questions, so please use the Q&A box if you want to ask any questions. And before we get started with those, I just want to mention again that we will send around the slides from today's presentation as well as the recording. A few people asked me that, so rest assured you will receive an email with the presentation in the coming days. Okay, let's take some questions. One of the first questions that came through was around whether does LinkedIn have any plans on creating a male-female filter within their Recruiter product?
We get asked that a lot. Unfortunately, not at this stage. We certainly are very mindful of our members first policy, and at the moment that's not on our product roadmap. I know that the product team are looking at diversity very seriously. So there may be some more exciting things that we can share sort of further in the year, but certainly for now, we don't have the it's not on the roadmap to have that as an option.
Right, thanks. Another one, you mentioned using a hashtag. What's best practice around that, and what are the benefits of using a hashtag?
Hey, look, I love a hashtag. I'm going to say. A hashtag is great. So if you have a specific campaign you want to talk about, so if I use the WSP example we looked at earlier of hashtag engineered her way, it's a great way to get people to follow you, to search you and engage in your campaign across LinkedIn, across all the media channels such as Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, for example. It allows your campaign to really gain traction. So I would say 100% use a hashtag, love a hashtag, but only if you can commit to it. So if you have a number of stories, your employees are on board, because what you don't want is to put out, let's say, 2 pieces of content across the platforms with a hashtag and that's it. You need to be consistent with it. I hope that's answered the question.
Right, thank you. And there were actually a few questions or similar questions, so I'm just going to try and summarize it. You talked a lot about gender diversity in the presentation today. However, what advice can you share around general diversity or other types of diversity? Is there anything you can add?
I'll start this one, shall I, Wendy? That's a really good question, and you're quite right. I think we referred to that at the beginning of the webinar. So if we look in NAMA in America, for example, they can do a lot of diversity attraction campaigns on the platform, such as veterans, looking at ethnicity, it's hard to say with the sore throat, by surnames and things like that. However, in our region, so in the APAC region, really gender diversity is one we can use to most effect, going through the tools and tactics we've gone through today. However, if disability, diversity attraction is on your radar, Indigenous, for example, there are ways you can attract people that work within that forum. And we talked about groups earlier. So if you want somebody that works within disability groups or helps hire Indigenous people into organisations, etc., those people are more likely to sit in groups. So you can use the same tactics, whether that's content, whether that's recruitment ads, again using the recruiter tool to actually target groups, for example. but we don't have the specific data targeting, because we would never ask our members to list themselves, let's say, as Indigenous or disabled, for example. So, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you answered that very well. I think, there certainly are some challenges when it comes to that. But again, it's around how you can sort of adapt some of the recommendations to your organisation, but also what your diversity needs are.
And I think it's remembering what diversity inclusion means. So I think one of the slides here earlier as well, I just showcased LinkedIn Pride in the US, and we had our LGBT internal community, but also friends and supporters, and you know, LGBT is a big one as well, where you can, you know, ask your employees to contribute and showcase their stories and support of those initiatives such as Gay Pride, and then we did with Gender and International Women's Day, for example. So again, going back to both what both Wendy and I said about being creative. Think about what you can do, the story you want to tell. Just above all, be authentic in what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Right. Thank you. Thank you both for the presentation, also for answering all those questions. That was great.
Welcome.
And thank you everyone else for joining today, and hopefully we'll see you again soon at another webinar.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for those familiar names. It's nice to have you on board. Any questions, as always, reach out.
Yes, agreed. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.